It's gotta be against the law to be making me feel this emotional, right? Like dog, I think I gotta talk to a professional after this. I really do.
Oh, hey, who left this bowl of onions here?
I don't even want to waste too much time with an intro. I'm just gonna get right into this episode because, holy Christ. Thanks to them began quite literally right after the events of Kingstide. Luz and her mother share a very emotional hug before going inside to get settled in, which is where the scenes I talked about last week took place. Luz and Hunter discussing their secrets, feeling guilty at that while Camila is caught up on everything that's happened. Then of course, Hunter and Gus settling in down in the basement while the girls get settled in upstairs. Also want to give a quick apology for thinking the Puerto Rican flag was the Dominican flag, my brain lagged. This is followed by another scene with Luz and her mom where Luz is apologizing for lying about the demon realm, though Camila reassures her they can just talk about it later, but not before seeing some of Belos' goop hop up away to no good. Now this little montage right here was probably the best way the crew could have handled this time skip with the content cut issued by Disney. We got a pretty good idea of what the kids had been up to during the months they'd been in Connecticut. They repurposed the old house as a secret base of sorts. Hunter got his hair cut due to seeing visions of Caleb. Hunter obviously wants to feel like his own person, so cutting his hair in a way that doesn't look too close to Caleb is optimal. A shout out to Willow for not making it look like trash, as well as, feeding the fan base with more Huntlow/winter content. V getting her new design, which looks great. Luz coming out to her mom as Bi via a video montage of her and Amity together. The fact that it was created by Lumity Productions is the icing on the cake. No surprise Camila was super supportive of this as well. That's mom of the century after this episode ended, honest to God. Flapjack's also looking for something inside the old shack during this montage too, which we later learned to be a map that leads to Titan blood written in code. What felt weird to me was during the second to last part of the montage when Amity was acting scared of the human rain. That just... why was she scared? I know this is a super nitpicky thing, but in Kingstide, she was totally fine when she was standing in the human rain, so what was her issue here? Seeing everyone bond here was very heartwarming, though. I think what made this part stick out more than the rest to me was because it looked like the characters were moving almost exactly in sync with the background music. Like when Luz and Amity opened their eyes one after another, I'm sure that was intentional, honestly. The montage ends with Luz looking at her drawings of Ida, King, and Lilith before heading off to school. Cut to the witch gang inside the old house where they're taking a break from portal work to learn some Spanish, with a blue version of the Duolingo level. Actually super impressed with V pretty much becoming fluent in Spanish. Granted, she was living with Camila posing as Luz for a while, so I'm sure she started learning it at first to keep up appearances, but eventually began to have fun doing so. They really cleaned up the shack nicely too, even put their own versions of Hootie on the door. Camila eventually comes by to check in and let them know she's on her way to pick up Luz from school. Also, big ups to Camila for wearing that heart sticker with the pride colors. Here, Amity begins to get restless about getting a portal door to work, suggesting they go out into town to look for clues, which ended up being a good idea because the map they found would have been worthless if they didn't do some looking. The gang also decided to keep the map a secret from Luz until they make sure it works completely, to not get her hopes up too much, but to make it feel like a nice surprise if it does work, as a thank you for letting them stay at her house and everything. Here we see Luz at school in one of her classes where a story is being read about some hero, which sets Luz off, probably due to the parallels the story has between its contents and what happened to her in the ancient past. The poor girl essentially had a meltdown in class, and it sucks because she fails to realize how, if it wasn't her, it probably would have been somebody else. Belos was smart enough to trick an entire island civilization with some total BS story about being able to talk to the Titan. Luz is just a kid. And plus, thanks to her doing this through a time portal, she's still around to fight back. She's not dead. She just needs to get her strong will back. After the class gets out, Luz is approached by two of her classmates that are new students, telling her they agree with her take on the story told in class and are hoping she can make it to the Gravesfield Haunted Hayride Festival. Now, as a Connecticut resident myself, I can appreciate how Camila's license plate stays true to the state's real-life license plate colors of a blue gradient fading out. It's good stuff. Another line that felt kind of weird to me here, similar to when Amity was in the rain. Camila was wondering what food the witch kids will like for dinner. Bro, they've been there for months. What were they eating before this? Like, dog. On their way back, they notice a woman's car crashed on the side of the road. Supposedly a deer got in the way, but the daughter of the mother thinks it was a monster. Well, it was a bit of both. That being Belos possessing a deer's body. What is it going to take to kill this man? I really don't know. Back at the Noseda house, Hunter and Gus are getting ready for bed. Hunter doing some last minute stitching of clothing at that, and also getting himself hurt. Made himself a nice little wolf shirt, which, believe it or not, was teased a while back in a drawing that Dana posted on social media. I really liked how Hunter's character was explored in the scene too. Gus pointing out that Hunter being in the human realm is the most he's seen Hunter smile since the two of them met. Part of me wonders if it's foreshadowing that Hunter would spend time here instead of back on the demon realm with everybody else. But a scene later in the episode had me question that, and I'll get to that in a sec. Hunter is still having a bit of an identity crisis too, and it's not an easy thing to get over by any means. This kid is a teen version of Belos' older brother, for Christ's sake. He's a literal clone teen version. If his head was in a dark enough place, he'd never be able to see himself as his own person. They also bond over a story Gus finds that's supposed to be a Star Trek reference, I'm pretty sure. Good choice for a reference, considering both these guys got pointy ears like Vulcans from Star Trek. There's a whole closet full of dweeb stuff down there, allegedly belonging to Luz's father, Manny. I guess we know why she developed such an interest in nerdy culture, huh? Luz, on the other hand, is having trouble sleeping, still feeling guilty about everything that's happened. So she takes her talisman and goes inside of her mother's room to get some advice. Though before we see that conversation, Camila is having some bad dreams. Dreams of how other parents would look at her daughter like some kind of freak. Like when Luz showed kids in the playground a snake skin, or during that school play that was teased in the very first episode, leading to the conversation with Luz's principal and what really happened. We learned that Camila was pretty much manipulated by the principal into sending Luz to that weird camp. Camila was actually bullied herself in high school, and this principal used that trauma of hers against her, being like, you don't want your daughter to be bullied like you did, do you? And the dream incorporating that feeling of Camila drowning too. That's cinema right there. That is cinema. Also, fuck this guy. He's a piece of crap. Luz continues to vent and self-blame while Camila probably gives the best advice here. It's okay to make mistakes. You just gotta make sure you learn from them and, grow as a person. Also, if this shot combined with Luz finding that snake skin earlier doesn't confirm that Luz's talisman will be a snake, then I don't know what will. If this thing doesn't end up being a snake, then this is the greatest, series of debates I have ever seen. I see you over there, you little rat. You're not slick. The next morning, the witch crew makes it their goal to go through the town to find some leads on the map. Hunter doesn't end up going because Amity thinks he needs to change clothes. A homie wanted to go out in public and cosplay as one of the characters from the Star Trek book. Hunter, looking at himself in the mirror afterwards, was super underrated, I think, because this is the first time since he found out he's a Grimwalker that he feels like he's his own person. It's even more amplified by the fact that he was seeing visions of Caleb in the mirror during that montage. He's not alone in there, though. He sees Belos' goop on the ground and starts to freak out. Now here we get a bit of a montage on the other witches going about town, getting kicked out of a magic shop, Gus and Willow looking at the Woodbane statues, giraffes originating from the demon realm after all, another cool callback to the very first episode. Just when things are looking at the grimmest for these guys, V suggests going to the Historical Society. And the only reason she didn't bring it up is because she's still a bit traumatized about what happened there, which is totally valid. Thankfully, Jake got fired. The employee to greet them is one of the friends V made in yesterday's live. Kind of felt bad that V had to lie about the two of them knowing each other though, since she had to, put on a new disguise. She sees the Rebus map letting them know how the symbols on it are hints to where they need to go, which gets them looking at the ones on the bottom in specific, i.e. the symbols that translate to the words Titan's blood. Are those motherfuckers watching Hocus Pocus over there? At first I thought those were the Amphibia trio, but I was wrong. V ends up noticing a picture inside the museum actually matches the town drawing on the Rebus. They finally have some leads. Cut to Luz at her mother's office with an ad of Dr. Hopadiah Planner on the bulletin board chilling. Also a drawing of Polly in her notebook. Something is going on with her glyph too, which is actually foreshadowed for later in the episode. The closer one is to Titan's blood, the more powerful magic will become. Hunter's still wigging out about seeing Belos, even getting on Flapjack's case a bit because of how scared he is. So once Luz gets home, Hunter lets her in on the skinny. They head over to the old house, but Hunter is still freaking out. Luckily, some masks just happen to blow to their feet for them to put on, and it helps Hunter get his confidence back a little. And the masks are obviously modeled after Hootie and King, which is a nice touch. The lines Hunter says here were a nice callback to what he said to Luz and Ida in Separate Tides.
All right, Belos. What's about to happen should be relatively painless if you just do what we say. What's about to happen should be relatively painless if you just do what I say.
They sneak around the house leading to a basement with a moving closet, only to find a stray possum inside. Hunter begins to lose trust in his own sanity, but Luz doesn't blame him. The two of them tell each other they just want to make sure they're safe, with Luz even considering him family now, which brings Hunter to tears. Almost got me too.
Would you get out of here?
Belos ain't gone though. He entered Hunter's bloodstream back there. When the two of them return, they see their friends making their costumes for the haunted hayride. Poor Camila. Maybe I'm misreading the situation here, but it seems like she didn't want the boys to find her husband's old stuff. Amity wants Luz and her to go as Azura and Hecate, specifically based off the second Azura movie. And was it ever confirmed this series had its own films before this episode? I thought it was just books, but I mean, hell, pretty impressive nonetheless. What's going on in the movie also reminds Luz of what she did, just like the school story did. And I think this even more so because the movie's villain is named Lucy and even looks like Luz a little bit. Later that night, Luz is still having trouble sleeping, so she decides to make a video recording to vent her thoughts. I see whoever boarded this desktop is a fan of 2017's Hollow Knight. Luz ends the recording saying she knows what she has to do, but it cuts off before we the audience can hear it. Cut to the night of the hayride with everyone looking spiffy in their costumes. Hunter hears Belos laughing, but rubs it off as being in his head, which I guess he wasn't technically wrong about. That's a Captain Grime costume right there. These Amphibia references just never get old. Thank God Jake made some kind of appearance here. He didn't play as big of a role as I expected, considering how major he was in yesterday's live with, like, thinking about witches and being real and stuff, but I'm still happy he's here at all. When it's time for the hayride, we learn it's being run by the same girl V was friends with. She has a scary story to tell, and it's none other than the story of the Wittebane brothers. This story confirms the fan theories that myself and I think most of the Owl House community had in their minds, that being Caleb met a witch from the demon realm whom he fell in love with. He would travel in between worlds every now and then, leading to Philip going to save his brother and thinking he needs saving, only to eventually put him out of his, quote-unquote misery. The specifics added that we didn't know yet are the witch they met was named Evelyn, which, I mean, come on, I think we can all agree she was a Clawthorn. Evelyn, Edelyn, like, really? And Flapjack was one of the things she used to lure Caleb into the demon realm, which again ties in with the Clawthorn family being talisman makers and the yellow one Dell had resembling Flapjack quite a bit. Hunter heard Belos laughing again and tells Luz about it. Unfortunately, he has to spoil the surprise Amity had in mind in order to give Luz a reason as to why Belos would be lurking here in the first place. Hunter instructs Flapjack to steal the Rebus so they can get to the Titan blood as soon as possible. They rush into the woods as fast as they can to do so. We quickly cut to Camila back at home where she finds the recordings Luz has made over the years. From first moving into the new house, to the week of her dad passing, even on how she became such a big Azora fan. Manny, you're a beast. And on Luz's walls, there's 2 posters that reference Soul Eater and the Resident Evil series. I think the other 2 posters towards the bottom are references as well, but I'm not sure what of. The final recording also tells Camila, as well as us the audience, what Luz said. She plans on telling her friends that she's going to stay in the human realm permanently. Not on Camila's watch or not! Back in the woods, Hunter starts to lose his sense of self even more, due to the fact that the closer they get to the blood, the more control Belos will have over his body. The rest of the crew wonders where Luz and Hunter went, and also notice the Rebus is missing. Thankfully, Camila and V show up in the nick of time using a find a phone app so they can track Luz specifically. Luz catches up to Hunter in an old graveyard, but it's clear by the way he's talking that Belos has already taken control, even scaring Flapjack away. The fully possessed Hunter confronts Luz, giving her thanks again, while telling her he doesn't need her anymore, digging up the Titan blood after attacking her. Who even put the Titan blood there in the first place? I mean, was it Evelyn? I mean, if that's the case, how is the Titan blood in a modern looking test tube? I mean, it's gotta be from the demon realm, right? I mean, it wasn't really ever explained, but considering the seal holding the tube shut is shaped like an owl, I think it's a safe assumption to make that it was Evelyn Clawthorn. Luz is having trouble fighting Belos because it's Hunter's body, which she doesn't want to hurt, which he even notices, and he also notices Luz's family show up, where he reveals how she helped him meet the Collector. I had a feeling he was going to be the one to do it, and I was right. These next few scenes might be the best animated scenes in the entire show. Everything was just so fluid non-stop. Even seeing V join the fight trying to suck Belos out of Hunter's body. Hunter and Belos' voices overlapping when he talked. It was amazing. Flapjack even tries to help, but it's no use. Belos damn near kills him before Hunter starts to fight back for control, telling Belos what his dreams are, which actually involve activities on the demon realm, so maybe the staying on Earth thing won't be real. I'm just so glad Hunter was finally able to overcome both his inner demons and outer demons, both literally and figuratively at the same time. This kind of felt like the conclusion to his main character arc, to be honest. He ends his speech by throwing the Titan's blood in the body of water around the graveyard, leading to Belos taking over again to dive in and grab it, though he starts to drown on the way down. Thankfully, MVP Camila is to the rescue. Once they're back on the surface, Belos' monster form emerges from Hunter's body. He slams the Titan blood on a gravestone, creating a portal back to the demon realm in the process. He tells everyone this is for their own good while creepily going inside. See, this is where I'm totally stumped here. I was so certain Belos was going to be defeated once and for all by the climax of this episode. I even thought I had a pretty good idea of how this show was going to conclude if the Collector stayed as the sole main antagonist. But the fact that Belos is still out and about, this is probably the most unsure I've felt about where this story is going to go. Like, is Belos still the main antagonist? Like, I just don't know what they're going to do with the Collector now, and I hope it ends up feeling rewarding, not gonna lie. Because, not gonna lie, if the Collector just ends up being a jobber with Belos being the main threat again, I'm honestly not sure how I'd feel about it. I'm honestly not sure. That's something I can't say for sure I'm going to like or dislike, really. I'm hoping the execution ends up being well done. I want to have faith. Hunter isn't waking up, which causes everyone to freak out, Luz even slipping about Hunter being a Grimwalker, so Flapjack decides to make the ultimate sacrifice, giving Hunter all his remaining remaining life force so the boy can live. Never thought I'd get so attached to a bird that can't even speak English. It might have been the saddest moment in the show, honestly. This is the first time a character has really died on the screen in the show. It hits different, man. It really does. Luz spills the beans about what happened too, about the time hole with Philip, all of it. But of course, nobody is mad, and I sort of expected that. In fact, Camila wants to go to the demon realm with everybody. After seeing exactly what they've been up against this whole time, she wants to be with her daughter on this one. I'm a little bummed that V had to stay behind. The reasoning for her doing so is valid, but I like her character a lot, and it's a shame she's likely not going to play much of a role in the next two specials. The episode ends with everyone going into the portal one after another, Luz and her mother being the last, but not before Luz has her full Azora Good Witch costume together. Wow, was that worth the wait or what? I'm sure the next one that airs in 2023 will be worth it as well, at least I hope. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this episode. If there's any parts that stood out to you in particular or anything like that, I would love to know your thoughts. Of course, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out a ton. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.